Heart for Excellence. Don't even know what episode it is.
I believe 63, but
let's go at 63.
Don't quote me on it.
With Henry over at TWFG, and of course our great friend Marek Rudak.
Oh, thank you, Trevor.
So, heart warm-up.
Heart warm-up.
And I was at a fire team meeting this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, 3 to 5 guys meet. We meet every other week, and then I have 2 of those. So every Friday I'm meeting with men. And those guys have been really special to me in the sense of accountability and support and encouragement. This life is hard. It can beat you up, and we all have struggles. And just a great meeting this morning with 3 other brothers. Mm-hmm. Talking about life and sharing life. And so I'm grateful for my fire team, or both of my fire teams actually, that I get to participate in. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Awesome. For me, it's I'm grateful for the power of prayer. And just to give you a quick example, I have a family member with whom I'm trying to have a better relationship. It's not a better relationship, but I'm trying to get a more loving relationship. And it's one of those things that even though I'm a relationship coach, I'm really good at helping other people, and having good relationships with other people. But this particular one just hasn't been going as well. And so, in the kind of the regular world, that would be it. But because I prayed about it, my fire team prayed about it, Trevor even prayed about it. This past week, we had some really good conversations, like really enjoyable conversations. Because sometimes you try to have a conversation just to kind of, just to force a conversation. But we had 3 like really, really good conversations I really enjoyed. So
cool. Thank
you, Lord, for the power of prayer. Thank you, brothers, for praying for me, because it was wonderful.
Nice. I'm grateful for family. I really, after working and walking into my house, mm-hmm. It is just, I am blessed at the house. My kids are almost like puppies, even though they're teenagers running on, and just and just the love pouring out of them really makes me feel like I've accomplished something. And also, I'm grateful for forgiveness. That's one of the things that I struggle with, and awesome. I'm sure we'll get into that.
Awesome.
Yeah. Wow. And Mark, I got to confess, and I said to you earlier, I think 2 days ago, I said you might have to really get this one going because this is a heavy one.
Uh-huh.
We've heard some pretty powerful testimony, sure, absolutely, without a doubt. But this one is it's different, especially as dads. And I know we're coming to Father's Day, and I don't know what that's like for you, Henry, but it's again probably another bittersweet experience, right? And well, we'll let Henry talk and share his story. But Henry, when I saw you in your office that day, and I didn't really know you from Adam. You were just another guy that worked at TWFG, and you had tech experience. And I saw a picture. Do you remember that day?
Of course.
I saw a picture on your wall, and I just presumed it was your son, right? And we just talked a little bit, and then you shared your story. It only took a sentence for me to be taken back, because it was something I wasn't expecting, and the gravity of that statement it stayed with me to this day. I was wondering if you can just share your story a little bit about what we talked about in your office, but then maybe let's elaborate on it a little bit more. What was it that you shared with me in your office?
About 7 years ago, it's 6.5, almost 7 years ago, my 4-year-old son was diagnosed with a pretty rare form of cancer. And the survival was percentage of percentages.
Wow.
And those percentages were single digit. And when you're told that, you don't even know what that means. It's just a complete shock. Looking back, you kind of go, you're out of the forest for the tree situation. And we went through treatment, and treatment is basically like torture.
Chemotherapy?
And, yes, we went through chemotherapy. We put my son in a lead-lined room for 5 days, fed him radiation intravenously. We wore Geiger counters, and we were trained as nurses. So for that time frame, we were his nurse, his doctors. We had to. He goes into that treatment, and he had an IV here, an IV here, an IV here, an IV here, a PICC line here, and he also had a port installed. That's one of the first things you do with chemotherapy.
Yeah. So, where does Jake is his name?
Yeah, Jacob. Yes.
Where did he fit in the? Was he your first, second?
He was our sixth, so he would be 10 right now. And my next oldest son is 15, so he was.
So he would have been. He's the youngest.
He's the young man,
the baby of the family,
the baby boy. Yeah.
When you were told the news, because he was 4 when you actually got the news, so there was really no indication that something was wrong, or was there something leading up to 4 where you thought something was wrong?
Okay, up until so it was the first symptom. Was about this time it was about May, and what we would do is we would all the kids would go swimming, and we would get out, and I would call them stealing hugs. And so what we would do is they would come over to the chair, all the kids. So this was almost 7 years ago. So my oldest son is 18. He would have been 11. So all the kids are very young, and they get out of the pool. I grab a towel and I wrap them up and I dry them off and I'm hugging them and just wrestling with them like that. And I noticed when I did that to Jake, he had this weird fever in his lower back. And it was just odd. Noticed it. And then, during the summer, it's Saturday and Sunday for me, swimming a lot, getting out, getting in 2-3 times a day or 2 times a day. And I'd feel it and then it'd be gone the next week. And then a month later, it came back, and I was like, "Wow, this is really odd." And after you have 6 kids, you're a professional doctor. You don't go to the doctor that often anymore. We just have penicillin, amoxicillin in the cabinet, and you just grab some, give them some, done. And so that kept going on until about September, and with Jake, almost every night he would start the night off in our bed. And then after he fell asleep, I'd take him upstairs and throw him in his bed. Sure. And so him and Mom was in the September, October-ish. No, it was September. And Mom was in taking off her makeup, and I'm wrestling with him. And then he just kind of grabs his leg in his top leg part, and he's kind of just rubbing it a little bit. And then I just grabbed him and threw him against the pillows, and I was like, "What's up?" He goes, "My leg hurts." And I said, "So what does that mean?" He goes, "It feels like my skin is peeling off." And you're just like, what?
So
I'm going to keep going if that's okay.
Yeah,
sure. Take your time.
We're there. We're laughing and playing still, and I just kind of go into my head. And I caught myself that night praying for God not to take my kid. And so then on the flip side of that, we didn't go to the doctor until October. And so we went to the doctor in October, the beginning of October, and we're there, and our doctor walks in, and this doctor has seen all of the kids. And I had never met her. So she walks in and she goes, "Oh, Dad's here. What's wrong?" And, we went through the introductions. And that day, we tested Jake, everything, for hours and hours. Couldn't find anything. They weren't looking for cancer.
Yeah.
They were just looking for other things. And so Martin's my wife, we're going back and forth saying, he keeps complaining about his leg, and when you watch him, he's walking funny. And so the doctor goes, "Okay, we'll x-ray his leg." And so go through the x-ray process, and Martin and I couldn't figure out which leg. He said it was the right. No, it looks like it's the left. And so we ended up x-raying the right. It ended up not mattering. But we get the x-ray back, and our doctor presents it as, well, like good news, bad news. The good news is he doesn't have leukemia, but the bad news is you can see that he has bone cancer. And so Martin and I are kind of sitting there going, "This is bad news, bad news. What are you talking about?" And we asked to see the X-ray, and you put the X-ray up, and you could just see the cancer. It was so prevalent. It was 2/3 of his femur was coated in cancer.
Oh, man.
And she didn't even have to explain that there was a problem. You could just see the difference on the screen. And so from there, we were in Texas Children's on like that following Monday. They were going down the lines of osteosarcosis, if I'm saying that right, bone cancer. And so then we went in, they did some preliminary scans. Then we went back a couple days later, and we went from having one doctor to having a team of doctors.
Right.
And you go through a whole different setup. You go into, it's very mechanical. You go and you sit in this like lobby room with these chairs, rocking chairs, and the doctors come in and talk to you. And one of our doctors is just standing in the back. One lady is mainly talking. And you look, and the doctor giving us our prognosis is crying.
Oh, even doctor.
And you're just like, you're in shock. And from there, you just kind of don't even know what's getting ready to happen, right? You just kind of, you're going through the motions. You're like a zombie. And we're driving home. And my dad calls and says, "How bad? What's going on?" And I told him, I said, "Dad, the doctor was crying." Why she was telling us.
Yeah.
And from there, you just, first month, it's a weird separation. I became a single father to 4 other kids, and my wife became, she just lived in the hospital. So treatments were about 25 days in the hospital, home for 25 days, 12 to 14 hour surgeries, those type of things. And it was, he was doing so well. And then it just started turning.
What's the time frame on that, Henry, of when from the pool to the diagnosis?
So it was May-ish, and then October 12th is when we were diagnosed. And he ended up passing away October 15th, 2 years later. So he lasted almost 2 years through treatment.
You talked about, just a little bit, about a faith component, or at least you alluded to it. And what are you thinking? What are you feeling at this time? We could presume, right? But can you share a little bit about the internal conversations, screams, arguments within your own head and heart, probably with God, and maybe still, but I don't know. Can maybe share a little bit on that?
So the first piece is, prior to this, I can't even say I went to church. That was probably the first time that I reached out to God with a real prayer, a real, like a request.
Right.
And so, and my wife was the contrast. And the church we're members of, and I'm a member now, I wasn't then. She helped build up the nursery, brought mops in. She was plotting things in the church and making it happen. And so that was a little bit of conflict in our marriage.
Right.
And but the first thing you do is you go through this diagnosis and you're into treatment. And because of the community that she was in, it's a caring and serving community. They start reaching out. And they're basically reaching out to me because Martin's in the hospital. You know, they're talking to her, but I'm the one that needs the help. And I'm in my mind going, I don't need any help. I've got this. Yeah. I can be a father of 4, get them to school, feed them 3 meals, come here and work, and somehow figure all of this out. And I think that lasted maybe 3 days, 4 days.
Wow.
I mean, it happened immediately.
Wow.
And you're just like, no, you can't get anything done. And you're also falling apart emotionally.
Right.
And so that was kind of, I want to say, one of the first steps towards faith for me. Was I was thinking about it one night, and I said, you know, I always like to serve. It wasn't, you know, I like to help. Right. And I don't need any help. And then it just kind of dawned on me that there has to be someone to help for people to help them. I'm not saying that, right? But yeah, I need to accept this, and this is part of it. Yeah. And I want to say every day for those 2 years, and probably a couple weeks after, our church provided us meals. And we had all these ladies coming in and doing our laundry and cleaning the house. I mean, it was awesome. Yeah. It was an eye opener.
You say something that I'm still chewing on. It was one of your first steps to faith. Yes. In this moment, when I think for some it's probably the first step away from faith, because how does a God that is loving, caring, and almighty and powerful allow this to happen? I would only presume that you wrestled or had to wrestle through this question. And this is a tough question, and we don't need even to answer it, but was that step to faith, was there any negotiating with God? I will come to you, but heal my son.
As a parent, you offer yourself for your kid at every step. I mean, that's just the way we're built. What you're describing, I still struggle with today. And that's what I was getting at with forgiveness. I struggle to forgive God, which there's other pieces post Jake's passing that have happened that might conflict with that forgiveness or lack of. But during his the treatment, we would. It was a walk with God. It really was, which you're asking for grace. You're asking to help with fear. I mean, it's you're asking, and you might not realize it at the time, but when you get some time past, you realize that, okay, this is who I was talking to the entire time. So obviously there's a belief there because you're wanting things to be answered. And also what you how far down you go through treatment. You're told your son is going to pass away, and sorry, I almost need tissue. And how far down are you going to go? What's the bottom? Right. And my bottom was a moment of thought where I said, if there is no God, or God is not there, then that means that my son also had no meaning. Wow. And how can that be? Right. And so you have that thought, and that was almost like, now it's time to start coming up. For my wife, it was, I don't want to live anymore. And as a husband, it took a while to get to where I could even notice that or hear it from her, because she was telling me. I was just
blocking out.
Not even necessarily, blocking out, because I didn't know what to do. I couldn't even get myself healthy or okay. And you're down there, and at first you're telling yourself, I don't want to know why. The reason. No, in the back of your mind, you know that until you get to the why and the reason, you're going to be stuck.
Right.
This is a good place to just take a quick pause and break.
Yeah, I need to go get something to wipe my nose. It's kind of gross. I'm sitting here doing that. So
Dude, you're so hot. The why. But we're going to pick up there, because that's one of the scariest questions, I think, in life that we wrestle with, is the why. And maybe sometimes, let's pick that up in the next episode.
Okay.
Let's talk about why.
So my comment is, you see me going, and I don't know how far to go.
Right.
And I'm willing to... I told Trevor this early on in our first talk. My motivation, my agenda is this is how my son lives. And so that is in the back of my mind, is talking about that. I'm not going to think that y'all are being insensitive or any of that, because I'm not worried really about what y'all's agenda is, because I have my own. So if you guys need to stop me and go like that, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Sure. Or I'm not going to walk away and say, man, that's true.
We want to tell your story, man. We want to tell Jake's story.
Yeah.
We want to tell your story, so that this can become part of other people's stories of how Jake helped other people get through this in your story. Sounds good?
Well, God bless you guys, and I will talk to you next episode.
Thanks, Henry. Thanks, Marek.